offering the right package, you can control people's minds.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at charismatic cult leaders who use their charm to deceive and manipulate their followers.
At the time, he was known as Vernon Howe, and he was involved in a deadly dispute for control of the Branch Davidian sect.
Marshall Applewhite.
It is Christmas, and we see a kind of family bustling with activity.
Often characterized as a UFO religion, Heaven's Gate was a reclusive group. Under the guidance of founder Marshall Applewhite, members lived by a philosophy that blended science fiction with biblical ideas. From an early age, Applewhite was a gifted orator. He was also a natural leader, often heading organizations and clubs in school. According to his sister, Applewhite could convince anyone to believe anything. And that is just what he did.
These people who are laughing, 24 or 48 hours later, ingest poisonous barbiturates and kill themselves with bags tied over their heads.
He proclaimed himself a prophet and began amassing loyal followers. When he told those followers that a passing comet would free them from their earthly bonds and allow them to transcend to the next level, they believed him. The only way to achieve this was to take their own lives, which sadly they did.
39 bodies, all dressed in ritualistic fashion, were found inside, each the victim of a lethal concoction of drugs.
David Berg.
He used scripture and he used spiritual principles to excuse his behavior.
From the outside, the Children of God appeared to be a New Age Christian group that espoused biblical teachings and a naturalistic lifestyle. But beneath the surface lurked a darker truth. Founded by David Berg, an evangelical preacher with a knack for appealing to young people through empathy, the sect began as a small group for runaways and hippies. It soon blossomed into an international cult.
Please come into my heart. I believe you're the Son of God. I believe you died for me. Please forgive me of my sins.
Berg brainwashed his followers to believe their bodies were not their own. They were expected to give themselves freely to other people. Allegations of abuse grew until authorities launched an investigation, but Berg died before it concluded. His charismatic appeal persists decades after his death. A version of the cult still exists, operating as an online network spanning 80 countries.
She was raised in the infamous Children of God cult, now known as the Family International.
Gwen Shamblin.
Was her ministry about God, or was it about Gwen?
Way Down Ministries is part weight loss program, part evangelical church. Following the success of her faith-based weight loss book, Gwen Shamblin founded the Remnant Fellowship Church in 1999. Members were encouraged to lose weight and keep it off. The core of her weight loss program was based on simple portion control, but Shamblin used her charismatic persona to convince countless people that their weight was tied to their devotion to God.
I hate to say this to some degree because she's deceased, but she struck me as a 100% phony.
She used her unique blend of persuasion and religious fervor to prey upon insecurity, gaining legions of devoted followers. Shamblin courted controversy a time or two, and the church was even investigated for murder. Shamblin died in 2021, but her ministry and the church she created carry on.
Half and half leaves nothing for Gwen Shamblin. That's not completely true, is it?
Yes, it's completely true.
Shoko Asahara.
私が何かを発言したら、オウム真理教を擁護してるとか、事件を肯定してるっていう風に話がすり替わってしまって。
Sporting an unkempt beard and long, messy hair, Shoko Asahara was not conventionally attractive. Instead, he relied on his charismatic personality to gain control of those around him. He was a gifted storyteller who was able to lure in thousands of disenchanted people and brainwash them into joining Aum Shinrikyo.
This penalty is good thing or not, right?
Still. Because for a long time, you've been saying that Asahara Shoko needs to die.
Considered by most to be a doomsday cult, Aum Shinrikyo has also been classified as a terrorist organization. Under the spell of Asahara's blend of mysticism and religion, members became increasingly violent. In 1995, the group achieved international notoriety when they targeted a Tokyo subway, killing 13 people in a horrifying chemical attack. Asahara was subsequently arrested for his role in the crime and sentenced to death.
Someone said, oh, he's in a coma. The guy was like shaking his body.
Bill Gothard.
If you have not gone through the basics seminar, I highly recommend it.
Despite never marrying or having children, Bill Gothard founded an evangelical organization that encouraged families to have as many children as possible. Gothard's charismatic stage presence, staunch morals, and biblical teachings struck a chord with conservative evangelicals. Before long, his ministry, the Institute of Basic Life Principles, IBLP, grew into a thriving network that included seminars, conventions, and a homeschool curriculum.
Aren't Christianity, there's something entirely different.
We have for every one of you the answer.
At Gothard's behest, IBLP members espoused strict gender roles, and wives were expected to submit to their husband's authority in all matters. Gothard was eventually ousted from the group he created due to allegations of sexual misconduct, but IBLP continued. By then, IBLP members were influencing politics and enjoying national exposure through shows like 19 Kids and Counting and Bringing Up Bates.
You've probably heard of the Duggar family.
Everyone knew who the family was.
Charles Manson.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. You do exactly what I said.
The murders committed by the members of the Manson family happened over a half a century ago, but are still discussed today. The 1960s were a tumultuous time of changing social values and shifting perspectives. Many runaway teenagers and young adults found their way to California, seeking peace, love, and acceptance.
His biggest talent, if you will, an evil talent, was to prey on the very, very young and vulnerable.
Through a disorienting combination of charisma, drugs, and philosophical ramblings, Charles Manson was able to gain the trust of several of these aimless young people. Perhaps more than anything, he was adept at finding people who yearned to belong and appealing to them by feigning empathy and providing them with community and purpose. Then, he manipulated them into carrying out a series of senseless murders that shocked the world.
Our conversation lasted an hour and a half, during which Manson was sometimes lucid, sometimes incoherent, and frequently manipulative.
Keith Raniere.
Keith Raniere had a checkered past as an alleged schemer and rip-off artist.
The self-help guru at the helm of the NXIVM cult, Keith Raniere, claimed to be a genius. In fact, he built his entire persona around intelligence and ethics. Followers, including several celebrities, flocked to Raniere, hoping to gain enlightenment and possibly even change the world. He made people feel seen and understood, and offered them a clear-cut path toward a better life via personal improvement classes.
And if you step out of line, you get punished. You get a lot of strong thought control, leveled at you.
Through various levels of expensive and revealing seminars, workshops, and courses, NXIVM members could work their way to the top levels of the organization. On the surface, NXIVM seemed like an overzealous self-help group, but things were becoming more twisted within the group. Extreme control, emotional manipulation, and sexual abuse had become the norm.
I'm cautious talking with you about it because I know you do believe in Keith's good intent, and I have for many years as well. But I'm starting to listen to my gut.
Bhagwan Shri Rajnish.
We don't have a single thief. We don't have any crime.
Described as a gifted lecturer, Indian mystic and spiritual leader Bhagwan Shri Rajnish had a hypnotic way of delivering his messages that even critics and non-believers found compelling. The self-proclaimed guru used this exceptional talent to his advantage and amassed an impressive band of followers.
We wondered, who these people are, why are they here, how long are they going to be here?
He eschewed traditional religions and embraced some unconventional philosophies, including spiritual materialism and free love. By the 1980s, his followers had taken up residence on a massive compound in Oregon called Rajneeshpuram. Eventually, they became embroiled in several illegal activities, including intentional food poisoning that affected hundreds of people. Rajneesh was deported soon after.
You would expect that, it could unfold the way it unfolded, you could imagine that.
David Koresh.
David Koresh was a monster. He was a highly unstable, self-proclaimed Messiah who used the Bible and used scriptures as a weapon.
An unassuming drifter named Vernon Howell joined the Branch Davidians in the 1980s. Soon, he rose to prominence within the group, changed his name to David Koresh, and took over as their leader. Thanks to his photographic memory, Koresh could recite and interpret scripture on the spot. Word of his riveting sermons spread, prompting people to travel to the Branch Davidian compound to hear him speak in person.
He was an embodiment of evil. He was the complete, absolute dictator of every facet of everyone's life.
His soft-spoken presence was soothing and inspiring. Soon, he convinced his followers that he was the next Messiah. Many insist that Kesh actually believed he was the Messiah, and it was his unwavering faith in himself that made him so persuasive. Kesh and many of his followers perished in an ATF-led siege of the compound in 1993.
Over 7 weeks, it ended apparently with many deaths.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Jim Jones.
Started as an effort by a charismatic preacher to build a new society, but it ended, of course, with the tragic deaths of more than 900 people.
The People's Temple was an unusual religious organization for its time. Centered around Christian ideology with communist and socialist influences, the sect grew to include over 2,000 followers at its peak. The infamous leader of the People's Temple, Jim Jones, possessed an uncommon magnetism.
And then you have Jim Jones says, "Do I have the place for you, for us? All this racism and bigotry and turmoil will go away in your life."
He was a talented orator who captivated his audience from the pulpit, preaching sermons about racial equality and building a new and better world. Jones appeared at first to be a well-intentioned spiritual leader, slowly revealing his more abusive and manipulative tactics over time. This calculated method of control allowed him to ultimately lead over 900 people willingly to a tragic fate.
As soon as these pictures from Jonestown cleared our newsroom, everybody, even a lot of hardened news people, reacted in horror and disbelief.
Can you think of other charismatic leaders who use their talent for persuasion to influence those around them? Let us know in the comments.
I didn't find God that way, so I kept searching.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.